Mr. Bryce up here is the Executive Director at Child's Rights International. He's joined us for a conversation. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba is also here. Now, the bigger picture, what we're looking at, Justice for Kids, is the hashtag that we urge you to follow on all our social media handles. We're highlighting these things that's happening in our societies. Is absolutely horrifying, to find an 11-year-old, and this last one, Maxwell, that you did for you shared with us yesterday from Kanishi.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Here's an 11-year-old in her sleep.
In her sleep, yeah. And this is the second time it is happening. The first time it happened was was a month ago actually. And from her mother's narration, usually she goes out to go and sell some meters away from where they live. And she tells me that the lock to their door actually is faulty. So what happens is that she just get a rag and then put it very close to the door and then just shut it with the hope of coming back and meeting her children, because there are other people who live on the compound as well. So this suspect comes into the house one evening, did not meet her in the house. The suspect actually has a friend who lives on the same compound, so usually he comes to the place to visit the friend. This time around he came, the friend was not around, and then he had opportunity to enter the room, and then this incident happened. And we're told that it happened a month ago, and the lady, the victim actually says that a month ago when it happened, she thought it was a dream.
Yeah, because she was fast asleep then.
She was fast asleep then. And I mean, the thing about it also is that usually when they sleep, they put off the light and all that, so in the middle of the night.
And this is a wooden structure.
This is a wooden, structure. And as you heard the narration from her mother, I mean, the girl is not really doing too well. Yesterday I saw the medical report for myself, and I was horrified that somebody would be able to do that to a little girl. As it stands right now, she's unable to go to school, and her mom told me that because of the stigmatization, now when she's walking around in Kanishi, I mean, she gets a lot of people pointing at her and all of that.
Oh, so the people who know the issue.
Yeah, and that was the same feeling. That was the same thing that I had when I went to Asin Manso to also speak to the 18-year-old girl who was hanged, who was raped and then hanged subsequently. She tells me that, her mom tells me that usually when she's walking around, she gets a lot of people, pointing at her. I mean, people have been discussing, this is the girl. So it tells you that even after that horrifying episode, there are a lot of psychological, traumas that come, with this sexual assault, rape, defilement, and all of that.
Ms. Apia, is it that we're reporting a lot more some of these incidents, or it's just happening too often these days?
Yeah, well, I think that people are reporting, but also on the other side of it, looking at how community behave towards these people. Sometimes they find it very difficult to report such cases, because what we have on record, it's issues that have been submitted to the police. That is the official record that we have. But if you look at how, for instance, the issue that happened to the 4-year-old girl, initially the parent did not report it to the police. They reported it to the chief. It was somebody who got hint of it that decided to report it to the police, and then the parent later followed up to report it to the police. So you realize that they never had the intention of reporting it, to the official system so that we can capture it and all that. So clearly, there are instances where people will not report it because of some of these issues that he spoke about.
Isn't it also because of the culture? Because in some of these communities, the chief is like the elder. The chief is like the police. That's the first point of call when something happens.
Yes, of course. But within our laws, in terms of the arrangement, we clearly know the duties and the functions of chieftaincy within our laws. And I'm not sure that when it comes to criminal matters, we have given them that kind of jurisdiction in terms of how we deal with those issues. So even if you're a chief and somebody reports such a case to you, we expect that you will let the person know the appropriate forum for which that person should report it. But sometimes, because they also want to prove a point to the community that they are still in charge, they still want to see how best they can resolve those issues and all that. 4 years ago, we had that same instance in Sunyani, where even because of that, we caused the arrest of the chief because he sat on the case that did not fall within his jurisdiction. At the end of the day, he started championing issues relating to child protection and all that, because he also realized that no, he didn't know of some of these things that we have in the system. And there's a lot of communities that are suffering from this kind of issues. So if, for instance, if you look at Central Region, the official figure that we have between 2014 and then October 2017 is almost about 1,831 cases of defilement. Wow. You know, defilement means that the child is below the age of 16 years. We are not talking about rape below the age of 18 years. And then these are official reported cases. So they can imagine those who live around the coastal areas who do not even have parents to even report the case to. And most of the cases, it is people who detect it. It's not even children who decide that they want to go and report. People detect that somebody have defiled them or raped them. Then the person will take initiative to report to whoever the person wants to report it to. So a lot of children are living with this kind of things and they are not reporting it because somebody will think that, okay, if I report it, the stigma that comes with it, they have to face it. Because already when they go to school, they go through all kinds of abuse and all that, you know. So sometimes it makes them to crawl into their shells, and I feel that it is time for us to look at how best we can deal with this issue. And for me, I think that the media can play a role. And I'm saying this because of the way and manner you carried out the campaign on Galamsey and the extent to which it is making impact, looking at that sector and the power players in that sector and how the media was able to mobilize itself to campaign, and so that now we have a whole policy on illegal mining in this country. So I think that the media can also pick up some of these issues and deal with it. Yeah.
Maxwell, there's another angle to particularly the Kanishi one you told yesterday. The fact that there was pressure, or there is still pressure, even though the police is handling this.
Yeah.
To withdraw the case from the police station.
You know, when I heard a story, you know, this week I went to Parliament, and an issue came up for discussion as a 4-year-old girl who was allegedly defiled. The issue came up on the floor of Parliament, and we had a Bekwai MP, Joe Sewusu, actually stating on the floor of Parliament that he does not really believe in all these international conventions and all these laws. What we really need more is the attitudinal change and an approach to, you know, issues of rape and defilement. I would say I had my rude awakening, you know, back on the University of Ghana campus. There was a stage play, V monologues, and then the rape scene came up, and you should see how my fellow Ghanaians were all laughing about it. I had some international students seated by me then. They were so angry because they thought that, look, for issues of rape, you don't really have to, you know, even laugh at it. Even if it's funny, you don't even have to laugh. You have to put a very serious posture towards it. And I think generally, that is our attitude, you know, towards rape when they come up. So that is why an investigator, for instance, in the Asin case, for instance, would not report the incident to his superior, that's the crime officer, for the case to be followed up. And that's why the recent one you're talking about, Kaneshi, that's why the family of the suspect would actually meet with the family of the victim, and the investigator who is working in the case, we are told, was part of the meeting to actually take the issue out of the police station and then settle it within the family, and then agree that a compensation of 2,000 Ghana cedis will be paid. But for the, you know, resilience of the, you know, the victim's mother, I'm sure they would have taken the 2,000 Ghana cedis. The medical cost of 1,500 would have been paid, and then they would have settled this issue at home. Such a criminal, you know, issue. And my challenge really is that why should the investigator, you know, be part of this? We've been trying to get answers from them. We're trying to get their response. You know, it still remains an allegation. We still want to get them to react to it, but we are not able to, you know, establish contact with them, so we can.
But we'll continue from that angle. I just it's good you brought the Parliament's angle to this, and you mentioned the convention that we've signed on to. Mr. Piap, on this United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which we're signatory to, the thing that you mentioned about the fact that the MP thinks we should find more like, and I'm interpreting in my own way, a homegrown approach to what is happening. Maybe the international style is not working. Would you agree?
Well, if you look at, let's even look at it from the international dimension and what the protocols do say. If you look at all the international agreement that we have, especially the preamble, it speaks to specific issues and the context in which we have to look at them. Then if you look at the UN Convention on the Right of the Child, one of the articles talks about the fact that if you want to ratify the convention, you'd also have to consider the cultural environment that you have in enacting any law that protects children. So right from the international level, there's a recognition of how customs, the local custom, can also come to play in terms of how you ratify the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. So we cannot also isolate ourselves from the global environment in terms of how we interact with each other and the support system that are there. So clearly, things must flow from the international level, but it doesn't take away the fact that when we are enacting policies or we are formulating policies to respond to international needs, we should also neglect the cultural environment in which we live. When you pick the Charter on Child Rights and People's Rights from the AU, clearly also state that position. So and if you look at the Children's Act that we have, the design of it's basically also looks at things that also emanate from our environment. Of course, you cannot take away the fact that parenting plays a critical role. And one of the things that the Children's Act promote is a communal behavior in terms of training children and then bringing them up. It doesn't exclude a child within the nuclear family. It also promotes the extended family in terms of responsibility, to the extent that you cannot even take a child from its natural environment if you even detect that there are some activities happening. The law only makes that possible when the child is being exposed to, if the mother of the child is a prostitute. Even to that extent, the law says that if the mother is showing the child this kind of behavior, then you can withdraw the child from that environment. Clearly shows that we believe in the family system. It is the right environment for us to train our children. But let's also look at issues that are happening to children. There are certain things that naturally, if you belong to the royal family, it can never happen to you as a child. And that is also it sits well within the cultural context that we speak. You know, when you're going to be a chief or a queen, there's a certain type of training that are being given to you that you cannot say is within the global context. It's within our cultural context. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, why are we treating those people special? And those that we consider to be normal, why do we treat them as they are? You know, so for me, it is a question of the respect that we have to give to our children, you know, irrespective of where they are coming from. Because we know that whatever we do today, definitely we were all young before, and today we are sitting here discussing issues. So somebody must also come and sit where you are sitting, maybe someday. So if we don't train them well, or we don't take issues concerning their lives well and treat it in the manner that we're supposed to treat it, then of course we will not get the kind of productivity that we want from them. So it is a question of what do we want as a nation? How do we want to train our children? It's not about international document, because issues about rape, issues about defilement, you cannot situate that in the international context. It's a practice that we have to stop. Just as death is an international crime, we should also consider some of these things as international crime, and let's do away with the international protocols and all that. In any case, all our legal system is we borrowed it from somewhere and we are using it. So to what extent can we say that, oh, because it is international norm and all that? The only thing that we do at the international level is for us to report on how we are responding to the provisions that we signed to it. And it is the same parliament that ratified the UN Convention. So how they themselves cannot tell us that they did not look at all these things without before passing the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. The law is for them, and they made it. As to how they made it, it is their own business. But so far as we are concerned, whatever it is in that provision in the law, we will consider it and work with it and ensure that we go by it to protect our children, and that is the most important thing.
How do you address the issue of pressure being mounted on you when you've been bold enough to report the incident at the police station to withdraw?
You see, it's a multiple issues. There are a lot of things that comes to play. One, I have realized in my work that sometimes parents do not have trust in administrative institutions. Therefore, if they want to go to the extent of doing the back and forth, they feel that, okay, there's an alternative way that I can resolve this issue. Let me take whatever is there, because at the end of the day, it will become a foolish case. I will not gain anything out of it. So let me do the bargain, and whatever I get out of it, I'll go and sit down with my family and then resolve our issue. So, and the police also have an attitude where they can also, they feel that they can resolve issues without going through the normal process. So they find it very difficult to draw the distinction as to the issues that they can resolve and the issue that has to go to the normal system. And issues about children is very complex when you look at the position of the law, especially when it comes to juvenile justice. It's not, you cannot just treat it as you would treat adult issues and all that. So it is a complex issue. So sometimes the police do not want to go through that process of dealing with that issue, especially where you need enough evidence to establish a case and all that. So sometimes they just want to find the ways and means to just deal with the issue so that they themselves do not go through that complex system that have been established within our juvenile justice system. So if you look at all this, both parties, then the other side of it is the perpetrator, who also feels that I can give something out, because generally we don't have respect for children. So anybody at all can think that I can negotiate, especially where the family is in a poor state. So we can negotiate and give them whatever it is. So all these factors come to play, and people feel that they can do anything at all. But I believe that if a police officer is trying to negotiate with the parties on matters that relates to defilement or rape, then I think that police officer do not deserve to be in the position which he or she is. We need to deal with some of these issues. And this comes back to the issue that happened in a central region. There is this 9-year-old girl that had been defiled, and then in the process of the man pulling his manhood, it came out with the intestine of this small girl, as well as the womb. And they have to operate on her several times to fix this. So if you hear some of these things, now yesterday I had a call that the mother, because the father is dead, and then the mother is also dead, and the child is living with the grandfather and the grandmother, and this woman has to go around looking for money to take care of this little girl, and this boy has been granted bail just because the information that the court require to pass judgment, the police is not forthcoming with those informations and all that. So if such a person, you go and say the family come back and say that, okay, let's sit down and negotiate with it, don't you think that the person would want to do that? So we expect that the administrative bodies must be more responsible and see how best they can deal with some of these issues in a manner that would bring justice to.
So how are you progressing with this issue you've shared with us?
Yes, we have decided that we want to support the family. That is the basic thing that they will require. So we'd want to do that.
Is it ever too late?
To seek for justice?
Yes.
No, we are pursuing that angle too. We are pursuing that angle, and we made it public to the media yesterday when we met them on the defilement cases that we've recorded so far. So it's an issue that I want the media to pick up. At least go to the court to find out what the issues are, and then see how best, at least justice issues, we can bring it to the attention of the public, because it's a very serious issue.
I think you were in the process of saying that you had spoken to the PRO of the.
Yeah, we've spoken to the PRO of Central Region, that's Irene, because what I heard was that it was the police. There is an association of the police ladies. They have an association that were taking care of this little child, and we thought that no, the system must be more responsible. So we have decided to support, but we'll make sure that whatever support that is available for this child to get to live a normal life, that child will get it. Because, and if you look at how they have operated on her, several cuts on her stomach as a young girl, I don't think that children deserve that, and nothing else should give us the excuse to say that our children should go through some of these abuse.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should condone it at all.
Maxwell, so the 4-year-old,
Yes.
what's latest? What's new?
Well, the suspect was sent to court, I think, 3 days ago, and then the court adjourned the sitting to 9th November. I understand that the police were asking for more time to investigate the matter, and so that's why the court gave them some days to finish with their investigation, so they can continue. So 9th November, yes, we'll be keeping our eyes on that, and then, yeah, we'll bring
And the
viewers to
18-year-old?
latest. Well, for the 18-year-old, the suspect is currently on the run. Police are yet to make any arrest, and I mean, I think for like 2 days now, we've been trying to reach the Central Regional Police Commander, and then the Asimfusu Divisional, commander. If they are watching us, I'm sure, hopefully they
So,
are.
Mr. Apia, you realize the challenges
this, yeah.
with us doing our work, because Maxwell has had to travel to Adadientim, just to do follow-ups, and it's difficult. It's
very difficult because we went to the community. And the facts that we're getting on the ground is a bit different from what the police have and what has been put out there. And this, for me, because it's a criminal case, one of the things that you need to do is you have to prove your case beyond all reasonable doubt. So if you are not able to get the facts well, it will impede the process of justice. And if you are not careful, this boy, I will not be surprised if this boy is exonerated from the thing that he has done. Because if you look at the medical report, it talks about different thing altogether. So if the police go ahead to say that it's a defilement case, and what the medical report is also saying otherwise, then clearly the court will have no option than to discharge this boy. But what we had a discussion with them, we told them that, look, you cannot just go only on that. There are other issues that happen to this child that you need to consider in terms of the charges that you bring against this boy. The boy is also a child, so his interest is also what we have to consider in the process. So if the child has to go to the juvenile justice system, it is his right to be protected under the juvenile justice system. But what we want to see is that at the end of the day, whatever caused this boy to do what he did, he has to go to the juvenile justice system and have a proper rehabilitation, so that when he goes back to the community, he will not have a cause to do that. It's very, very important. And then this little girl must also get attention. And there's a whole lot of things about the family, which some we cannot make public, because you'd also have to deal with the family, because of the condition which they are, and then the number of children that they have, and then the status of the family. These are issues that you have to deal with. Otherwise, if you are only looking at justice in a normal way, you will not be resolving those issues. And so we expect the police, one, to do due diligence in the process in terms of what they will send to the police, and then the social welfare officer
to the courts.
We went with the social welfare officer. We went on Friday, went with the social welfare officer, because we were expecting that the social officer would have even gone there earlier to ascertain the issue, but that did not happen. We were there when the director of the Department of Children also came in to also ascertain their issues and all that. So for me, there are issues that we have to deal with beyond the seeking justice for this child, of course, which we have to do. And I would also think that the system must support this little girl and then the family. But let's deal with the justice issue so far as this boy is concerned.
I worry a lot. Two things. One, you know how we've been saying that, use the alternative dispute resolution system. So one, my question is, can we use that system to resolve some of these issues, considering families, the complexities of the family, issues? Can we use ADR to resolve this, or we definitely have to go through the strict court system?
Yeah, for me, ADR will not work because it's a criminal case.
Okay.
Deferment is purely criminal case. Therefore, you cannot resort to any other form that will impede the process in terms of the determination. So the court must decide on that. It's not something that parents or parties can sit down to resolve and say that, okay, this is the position.
It's become a state issue.
It's a state issue. And criminal prosecution is only done by the Attorney General, and then powers have been given to the police to also do so. So clearly, it is outside the ADR issues. But there are two angles to issues that happens to children all the time. There's the issue that has to do with the child protection itself and the criminal matters. So, and the law says that once such a thing happens, institutions must take steps to do what we call the rehabilitation and maintenance. That one is purely civil. It has nothing to do with the criminal matter. The criminal matter must go through the juvenile justice system if the person who committed the offense is a juvenile. But if the person who committed the offense is above 18 years, then that person must go through the normal process in terms of how the court will look at it and all that. But the angle where the maintenance and rehabilitation comes in falls on social welfare to determine the kind of support systems that they have to give to the victim. And if the perpetrator is also a child, then they also have to design a support system for that particular person.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what the law expects us to do when it has to do with children is we have to run programs in such a way that it will bring them back to a normal life. That's what the law expects us to do. So if that child is behaving a certain way that is out of the normal, then what is expected of us to do is to make sure that we make things in a way that will straighten the child to have a good life. So if the child is not getting food to eat, we have to provide. The state must provide it. If the child is not going to school, the state must ensure that that child goes to school. All these things must work. And if you are not doing that, and you are only looking at prosecution, that will not bring out the kind of justice that we want for our children.
Fantastic. And the reason I worry also is because when we highlight these issues, I mean, we have to keep hammering on it. It has to come to a certain level before the actors even fall in place. And if nobody is reporting it, at least if a mother or a father has gone to the police station to report, the fact that the media hasn't picked it, it doesn't mean that actors shouldn't play their roles. It's very worrying, but we'll continue to have the conversation. We urge you to follow these conversations with the hashtag Justice for Kids. Finally, how can people get in touch with you? Is there an active online
yes, you go to our website. When you type Child Rights International, our website will pop out. We have our Facebook also. When you type in Child Rights International, you would also get it. And then you can also send us a mail through info@crighana.org.
Okay.
And then any information that you have with respect to children, let us know.
All right.
And then what we can also do to support them.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you too.
Maxwell, thank you for a great job. I know you're an action man, but you've been so passionate about these, these stories. And they are not just stories. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for following through.